Great day, everyone. Great day, everyone. How are y'all doing today? I want to welcome you to the Overnight Success Podcast. I'm your host, Diamond McNulty, founder and CEO of McNulty International, creator of the Success Club, author of How to Become a Successful Young Man and Woman. And today I'm excited. We have an amazing guest. Now, this individual, not only is he a believer and a dreamer, an amazing entrepreneur who has nearly traveled the world. So I'm excited to have him on. Owner of Aunt Carol's Sauce and TTP Tech. Let's bring him on in. Tahjere Lewis, come on in, brother. How you doing today?
I'm doing good,
Come
Chef. Thank
on
you so
in.
much for creating this platform and having me on.
Yes, I'm excited. A young leader, taking over the world.
There we go. It starts somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. So before we even get started, is there anything you want to share with the audience?
Honestly, I'm just happy to be here and everything that we talk about today. I just want to really fuel the people, the listeners, the watchers viewing this, and really create inspiration, motivation inside through my journey and see how you can listen and learn from what I experienced to be better than me or to achieve some of the higher achievements that I have achieved. So I'm happy to share everything and all things today.
Man, when you talk about someone who is wise beyond, they say wise beyond his years. I used to hear that when I was, young. I'm still young, so don't even don't.
You are still
But
young, don't do that.
right. But you used to hear that. But to see
hmm
you in action is even more powerful, right? So let's get started. So Taj, let's take it back, right? So let's give everyone a quick overview of your journey
hmm
from the beginning. Where were you born and raised, and how was your family dynamics?
I was born in Newport News, Virginia. This is
Mhm.
called like the 757 area code. We have seven cities. A lot of people
Mm,
might know we have Michael Vick coming out this area, Kyrie Irving, a lot of great athletes, Pusha T, Pharrell. So it's really a great environment for people to grow. And this is one of the first settlements ever in the United States. So it's a lot of history. You know, we got Williamsburg, Jamestown. People don't know this type of stuff, but all this stuff comes into play with the dynamics. So when we talk about Black people,
mm,
quote unquote, just entering America, this was the place, right? So yes,
right.
I was born and raised in Newport News, Virginia. We have the biggest naval base as well. So just a lot of stuff going on in this area. I was raised by a single parent mother. I have a
Mhm.
small family in Hampton Roads, probably like 12 to 15 of us, but very tight knit.
Mm, that's what I'm talking about. So you said a small family, but y'all were in the same area, right?
Correct,
So,
correct,
uh,
correct.
what? How did that shape your upbringing?
Yeah, very close, very family oriented, where, coming together, we will always have something going on every single Saturday. If it wasn't Saturday, then it was a Friday. So once a weekend
Mm,
happened, we were always coming together. We was always eating. And we always have crabs, blue crabs, as where we're from. It's like a ritual to have like newspaper on the table and eating crabs.
come
So
on.
exactly in crab, we had no claws, we had nothing but our teeth cracking these shells. So this was a real experience. So yeah, just
Yeah.
very family oriented.
Okay, so here you are.
hmm
You got your family. You're coming up as a young man. Now, what
hmm
were your grammar school dynamics?
Yeah, so in kindergarten, I was actually labeled special, right? So they had me take a test. They said I was illiterate, trying to put me on medication. And my mother fought for me, like very much so to the point where they were trying to put me in these special classes. But it was some things that I was disadvantaged at, but I was not special. And they tried to put me on these medications. But my mom fought for me, and I did not have to repeat a grade, but I did feel special, growing up. So I always felt that I was at a disadvantage. I did have a small speech impediment as well, where I couldn't say certain words. So growing up with that, I had this monkey on my back because I felt that like I was different than other people, and my teachers even told me so. Right. So when you have these
Right.
people tell you these things that you're quote unquote looking up to or learning from, it's kind of heavy. So I was doing other classes, doing tutorings. Like I said, my mom was a single parent mother, so getting tutors, all those things was very hard. and people don't really have the patience for slow kids, right? So from a
Mm.
young age, I felt as if like I need to figure things out on my own. So I
Wow.
will say that I kind of grew up kind of fast because of the situation. But just to fast forward, I went from going to elementary school and not having to repeat any grades and being able to catch up. By the time I got into like the sixth grade, I was pretty much caught up. And I stopped my tutorings around like third or fourth grade. And by the time I got to high school, I was already an AP excelling to the point where I had a full ride academic scholarship to Virginia Tech University and had several other full ride colleges. So coming from them trying to put me on medication, saying that I was not articulate enough or I was disadvantaged. You can never listen to people what people tell you about yourself. So that right there was a lesson in itself that took
Mm.
me further than ever.
That is amazing. And you hear the stories about
Hmm.
those kids that are put on these
Hmm.
medicines, and it shapes their
Hmm.
thinking, it changed their mindset. Even
Correct.
myself as a young man, right? I used to get
Hmm.
in trouble. My mother said I used to finish all my work before all the kids, and I used to, play around. But all she said was I had a lot of energy, and that my
Mm.
teacher, she said, keep them busy, and so it's
Right.
your mother that stood in that gap,
She did. She
that my
did.
mother was like, "No, he ain't nothing wrong with him. Just keep him busy. Let him help other students."
Right.
So, man,
Hmm.
that's it. Let's give mom a hug on that one.
Absolutely. Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah.
100%. So like
Wow.
going during this time, just having, the love of my mom and trying to do the best that she could with what she
Mhm.
had and me understanding that she's trying to do the best that she can. And I do have a father. I didn't meet him later on into life. Come to find out he was one of the world's fastest men in America. So, I have a father that is Olympic gold medalist, and he did end up going to prison for majority of my middle school and high school years. So track and field was a big part of my life to the point where that was my sport, and I ended up running D1 at Virginia Tech for track and field. So having all of these aspects, in my life and trying to be this person, how others perceive me, and trying to live up things and trying to have a connection with my father through the sport of track and field really
Mhm.
molded me a lot.
I
Yeah,
love that because that's how you navigate it, right?
right,
But you
right.
had something on your back. You like, and as a kid, you were aware
Hmm.
too. So let's
Hmm.
talk about high school. How was your
Hmm.
high school dynamics?
Yeah, so my high school was a public school. I would say that it wasn't the best school in terms of education or athletics. Like we didn't have great equipment, we didn't have the best facilities. Like we had just enough. And for my environment, school wasn't that priority. Education wasn't the priority. It was athletics. It was sports. When you kind of have when you say we had Michael Vick, we had Kyrie Irving, we had a lot of people trying to make it D1. So everyone there was, school is secondary, right? And
Mhm.
athletics is number one. So coming from this background that I think everyone in my environment had this hustle mentality of working hard on the field, off the field type of thing, where it really played in. And I can see so many of my other peers now where, some who didn't make it D1, they still have that resolution inside of having this discipline because a lot of things in life, like you don't just have to be an athlete, but to play a sport or to play an instrument or to cook, you need to have some sort of dedication or motivation to continue trying to perfect your craft. Right. And that was all it
Mhm.
was about. And, coming out of college and learning about the sport, it was really me versus me. It wasn't
Mhm.
me competing with anyone else. It was really me perfecting myself. But you get tangled up in trying to compete with others,
Mm.
especially in school but then as you actually excel when I was excelling in my sports, I would say, okay, I'm the best in the city. Okay, now I gotta be the best in the state. Okay, now I gotta be the best in the country, or now I gotta be best in the so it was always layers, right? And anything that we do in life, you will see these layers, but at the end of the day, none of it matters. It's all a facade. So I had to understand, like, as long as I'm doing the best that I can in my ability, then we're good. But the instruments of the world was always trying to put me in these boxes and trying to make me chase these numbers or chase these
Mhm.
scales. But every single time I chased, I felt like I was getting I was getting drawn even further back, which is
Yeah, because it's like that carrot that's in your face and you running
Mhm.
after it and it keeps moving as you're moving. You
It
you're
keeps moving as
100%,
you're moving.
you're 100%
Mhm.
right. And
Yep.
that's how it is. But once you realize and take the blinders off and say, okay, well, this
Mhm.
is who I am, and you understand where you're headed in life. So
Correct.
how did at that time did you have any mentors and did you have any support in high school?
I mean, honestly, I had a really good friend group. I would honestly
Mm,
say I had a really good friend group. Like I said, I had a loving family. I never felt the need to really talk about what I was going through in school, but I always felt love from my family. Um, and I had really good coaches as well, to the point where it was that type of tough love. Like
mm,
they knew that I had the ability, so they will make me do extra things so that I could get to that point. I had coaches picking me up, on Saturday mornings, trying to go to track with me, just doing all those little extra things that, not the average individual would do. So I definitely had the support because, my success was their success. And,
mhm.
that feeling was reciprocated. So I would say that, I always, and coming from a single parent household, you want to do good, you want to excel, like you want to do the best that you can, and you want to make your family proud.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, and because you're maturing quicker
Hmm.
than the average kid. You may have more
Mhm,
responsibilities than the average child. You got to take care of
mhm.
yourself. You may have to wash the clothes. You may have to cook for yourself. All of those good things.
Exactly,
All of
exactly,
those
all these
things.
good things, exactly. I was washing clothes at, like, 6, so, it just and that's just and then when we talk about our international travels, you're like, people around the world, they driving motorcycles at 5.
Yeah. Hello, my name is Diamond McNulty, and I want to welcome you to the McNulty International Success Club, where we help youth and adults create their personal success plans to achieve their dreams in life. Visit McNultyInternational.com today and register. And I look forward to seeing each and every one of y'all inside the boardroom. In high school, what
Mhm.
challenges did you face, or what obstacles did you face?
I would say that I was facing a couple, I was facing a couple where, um, on the academic side, where I was trying to figure out how I was gonna get to college. I didn't even know what I really wanted to do. I knew that I wanted to continue running track, right? I didn't know what I wanted to major in. I just knew that I wanted to get a full ride athletic scholarship, right? And I was gonna do
Mm,
everything in my ability to get me to that point. So I would say that I tried to stay away from some of the things that would deter me from my goals. And at the age that I'm at now, I understand how you probably need to structure your decision or your
mm,
lifestyle based upon the goals that you want, right? And
mm,
no one taught me this, but I learned this through experience. So I
mm,
became this wise through experience. And I would say
mm.
that all of this started molding in my high school years. Because once you get to high school, you think you know everything. You think you can figure the whole world out, and that was kind of me. Like I felt like I had all the puzzle pieces together. Like, okay, if I do this by this time, like I was structuring my life to be my future lifestyle, right? So
Mhm.
everything that I wanted, I said, let me start doing this now, and not try to wait till I get to this point, right? So if I
Right.
want to get to college for track and field, I better start training like I'm already in college, right?
Mm,
I need to start doing all the things
mm.
that they're already doing on campus in the system. So just to repeat, like you need to be doing the things that you want to do in the future, not just waiting to the future, but doing them presently. If you want
Right.
this feeling, I had to do it now. And that was one of the biggest lessons that track and field taught me at that young age.
Right. Become that person now.
Now and not just
Uh,
waiting. If I want to feel that, I need to do that now. I don't need to be waiting until I get there. Because when you wait to have a certain feeling, you're always chasing, you'll never get it. Because if I'm saying,
Mhm.
okay, once I get to college and I make this track and field team, then I'll be happy, then I'll be satisfied. But no, I need to already feel like as if I'm already there
Right. Wow. And
presently.
you hear that with all the runners that are in the Olympics too. They play it
Mhm.
over and over in their mind that they have
Correct,
already achieved that goal.
correct,
And it's just muscle memory when they execute.
correct. Because what
Wow.
they say in the sport is 90% is mental, right?
Hmm.
10% is physical. That means 10% of the entire sport is physical. 90%
Hmm.
actually your mind. It's mental
Wow.
reps.
Right. Pushing
Correct.
yourself and
Pushing
pushing through.
yourself.
So now, so Aside from that, when you think about high school, is there any advice that you would give a high schooler now that you have navigated already through?
Correct. And that the biggest one is whatever you want, you need to start doing it now. I don't want you to wait because what you just said, like many people, the people that are selling, the young generation like are selling, and the older generation, like, man, you don't have nothing to worry about. You're good. You're already doing this, that, and the third. Like, you're fine. Don't worry. And like, no, you should not worry, but you should be doing all the things that you want in the future now. So if you
Yeah.
want to be getting that full ride college scholarship, then you need to be making sure you're doing all the things that you want to do now, right? So
Mhm.
whatever you want, start actively doing it now and not waiting to the future to happen. Because the future's tomorrow, the future's in a second, the future's in a minute, you know.
Oh, the
So
future is right there.
now is right now. The future is happening right now. So what we do right now predicts our future.
Yes,
And that's the
yes.
biggest thing that I can try to tell the people in high school, and that's the biggest lesson that I learned in high school that took me further than where I'm currently at.
Mhm. And still moving, right? And still
It's
going.
still
We just
moving.
getting started.
We just getting started. Correct.
So let's talk about this. So here you are graduating high school, going into
Hmm.
college.
Hmm.
What were some of those decisions that you made in selecting a college and actually, navigating that process?
Right. That's a great choice, and this is where my faith came in, where God came to play, because I had other scholarship opportunities. But like I said, let me take a step back. So I was running track and field for 4 years. I ended up getting hurt my junior year. And when
Mhm.
I got hurt, I was said, what am I going to do with my life now? So I fell in this quote unquote depression because in high school you think every problem is like a end problem, right? So I thought like this is the end of my life. What am I going to do? So I had to pivot. So I pivoted to academics. I said even though I'm hurt right now, doesn't mean I'll be hurt forever. So let me just try to focus on something else, which was academics, which ultimately led into me getting a scholarship and then also winning 22 scholarships on the side on top of my full ride scholarship. So with that being said, all the energy that I mustered up um, from from not being able to start competing, I used that same energy to propel me in a different area, which got me to my goal. So sometimes
Mhm.
we might create these plans, but we can't hold on to these plans very tightly, right? Sometimes we
Mhm.
got to hold on to them loosely so that we can pivot because it's
Mhm.
always good to have a plan, but not holding it in a headlock. So from there, that's essentially what I did. So I made sure that my academics was good, and I applied. So at my school, we had this 1 week where you can apply to unlimited schools, right? Because
Mhm.
college application was like $50, but since the school I was at, they said, you know what, we're gonna let you apply. So you know what I did? I applied to all the schools. I had all my essays ready. I sat in that library for a week and I applied, where I got accepted over 50 universities, right? Because I took advantage of my opportunity. I took advantage of my privileges, right? And as being young black people, we still have privileges as well, right? And we need to understand what our privileges is,
Right.
you know. So even fast forward to now, I understand I live in America. I got this blue passport book where I can go anywhere. That's a privilege, right? So going back into high school was a privilege for me to be able to submit this unlimited scholarships or unlimited applications. So I did that. I
Mhm.
used my privileges, and I said, okay, now I got options, and it's always good to have options. And I said, okay, what will be the best option for me, right?
Right.
So I said, I want to
Right.
run track. I want to go to school at a good college where if I wanted to get a job, it would look good on a resume. So I
Mhm.
had all these options, and some of those options probably wasn't the best one because I was trying to go to some schools where my friends were going to. I didn't want to feel isolated or secluded. But then everything just started going falling in line to the point where my father got on his first plane in like 10 years. And
Mhm.
so happened was the Virginia track coach was right next to him in his seat. And all my dad had to say was, "Hey, my son's going to Virginia Tech. What can we do?" And then I ended up walking on to the Virginia Tech track team. So there, it made this situation a lot easier, and I can't leave out that part, right? I couldn't leave out that part because
Yeah.
that was a pivotal part where my mom was supporting me with all these scholarship applications, and my dad just so happenly sitting right next to the Virginia track coach. So, but all of these
Wow.
things was in my will. Like I wanted these things so badly to the point where I didn't know how they were going to happen. I didn't care about how the why or the how. I just knew it
Yeah.
was happening. I was just doing the best that I could, you
That's
know. And I ended up everything happened on time to the point where by May or June, I ended up getting my full ride academic scholarship. And then that same month, the Virginia track coach called me and said, come on down to the school. We'll start training in July." So everything, I
mm,
just graduated in May. Well, June. Yeah, everything just happened automatically in June. And then boom, I'm on campus, bills paid for. I'm on the track team running. What more can you ask for?
right. That's so important about what you just said. You
Mhm,
focused on the inputs. You didn't focus on the outcome at the
mhm,
end. You focused
mhm.
on what you were able to control and putting yourself in the best position possible.
And at that age, I didn't know what was happening. I just said it's happening, and
Hmm.
thank you God, but it's happening. So I'm here. What do I do? So
Right.
as soon as I got to college, I said, "Oh, I need to step it up." I'm not here
Mm,
for no reason. So when I got there, I started being this extrovert person to the point where I said, I just want to learn. I'm here. I want to expand my mind. I'm at this PWI with all these great people. Let me try to actually learn and try to better myself and other people around me. Right. So when I got there, I
mm,
said, I'm not just here for this degree. I'm not just here for this track. Like, I'm here to be the best version of me, no matter how that looks like. And then you could see that in my trajectory in college. So when I got there, I was just meeting so many different people, getting acclimated with this new environment. And like I said, from being in a single parent household, we're used to being alone. Right, so
hmm.
being alone was nothing new for me. I could manage my time accordingly. I knew when I needed to go to practice. I knew I so time management wasn't an issue when I got to school, right? Well,
Mm,
versus my other friends, I noticed that they had a hard time adjusting to this
hmm.
time management. But for me, this was just second nature. So
Right.
my freshman year, I said, okay, I gotta maintain this. So I had a full ride scholarship, so I had to maintain a certain GPA, had to maintain a 3.0, and had to maintain 15 credit hours. So with that being there, I said, okay, these are my minimums, right?
Hmm.
This is my base. Then I was on the
Right.
track and field team. I was a walk on, so that means that I gotta perform. This is my minimum bar. If I don't perform, then I'm
Right.
gone. Okay,
Right.
so I had these
Right.
minimums, I had these standards, right?
Yeah.
So, and my grandpa used to tell me, he said, in your bank account, you need to make sure you have a minimum balance. It can't be zero. It got to be a minimum balance. So that was the only analogy I could think of in that situation. I said, okay, this is my minimum balance. This is where
Yeah.
I can't fall below it.
That is great because you had those standards and you had a great decision making process too. How
Hmm.
you navigated all of those decisions at a young age,
Hmm.
which also positions you for success, right? Because you were
Right.
open minded, but you were making clear, great decisions that will move you forward. And like you said, the end goal was in mind. But let's talk a little bit about what you had in your hands. So at that time, from your perspective, what
Hmm.
gifts, what passions did you know your purpose at that time? Like what was in your hands that you were like, this is where I'm at?
Yeah, I found out that I am a good people person, right?
Mhm,
I have really good empathy skills.
mhm,
I can really talk to people. I can just form a really good relationship with a person if I'm with them in their face. With a point where
mhm,
I was well liked, right? Even coming out of high school, I was, homecoming king. I was all these things where people really gravitated towards me, right? In
mhm.
this position of being some type of light, right? Even in my school, looking back now, I was voted most to succeed, right? And I'm saying these things just to give some foreshadowing because at that time I really didn't know what that meant, honestly.
Yeah.
But just having these things in place and then going into college, and just being opened up with so many different people and just being my authentic self in college, really attracted and attached to a lot of different people.
Right.
So my first gift was just being a people person, right? Being a
Mhm,
people person, being able to talk to people. But throughout my life, I learned these skills of just this hard work this hard work ethic, right? And
Mhm.
bringing that into play into college where I knew it was different. Because when I'm around other people, I'm like, I just kept going. Like I had this burning energy, this
Yeah.
flame where like even if I just got out of class, I'm going to the gym. Like I'm just like I'm exuding so much energy and I thank God for giving me this flame that I have inside of me that is just a
Man.
never giving up spirit. So I would say that was like my first impression of like, wow, Todd, like this is who you are. Like these are your gifts right here.
Wow.
And just showcasing that and trying to figure out how I can be a light for others with what God
Mhm.
has given me.
Now that's great because, and we say that because the high schoolers or the college students that are watching, you got to know what's in your hands, right? What
Mhm.
you have, your sweet
Right.
spot that you can
Mhm.
use to move yourself forward. Now, here you are in college from
Mhm.
freshman year to graduation. Like,
Mhm.
what were some of the key relationships that you were intentionally developing, and how did you navigate that journey?
Correct. And I think first off, when I got to school, I was really tight knit with my track and field team, right? So because we were doing so many things together, but I said, hey, let me just try to, venture off a little bit, right? Let me try to
Mhm.
expand my box and try to get into some different circles and to meet different people. But that didn't really start until um, after my aunt passed away. So when I was a high school senior, I made a promise to my aunt that I would turn her sauce into a business after college. Um, and with that being said, like this business started to play my freshman year, right?
Mhm.
So when my aunt passed away, this burning energy said, we need to start doing something now because the promise was once I finish college, we'll start doing it. But I said, I don't even want to wait. This impatientness
Mhm.
inside of me said, let's just get this ball rolling. So that being said, I said, who do I need to get connected to learn and to figure out how to build this business? Because I didn't even know what the word entrepreneurship was. I didn't know what being a
Mhm.
business owner looked like. I didn't know none of these things, but I didn't let any of those things stop me from doing what I said I was going to do. So
Mhm.
from there, it's so many different outlets being at Virginia Tech. So from there, I got connected with the entrepreneurship club there, just all these different people because I had to start tapping into different resources and people were aligning into my life so that I could grow and learn from these people. So I would say the first aspect of me growing in college was this entrepreneurship because I said, oh my God, this is a different world. These kids are out here competing and trying to win money and building these
Yeah.
businesses. I didn't even know this word existed.
Yeah.
I came from just academics and athlete and being an athlete to the point where like, man, this kid's my age, and even though they're not on the track, they doing the same thing, but in a
Yeah.
different field.
Yeah.
You
Wow,
know,
they're doing a different thing in a different field, track and field.
exactly. See, that's the bar. So I'm like, oh my God, this is a different world. So now I feel like I done lived so many different lives to the point where I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I have my hand in academics. I see the people working so hard for academics. They trying to get the
Yeah.
MBAs, they trying to get the PhDs, they're trying to get the culinary, like they're doing all of these things. Then you
Yeah.
got in track, I mean, in sport, I'm friends with basketball players, football, so like everyone's doing their own thing. They got certain minimums that they have to hit in order to get to the next level. And the same
Mhm.
entrepreneurship work. So I started seeing this pattern in all these different aspects. And college, I'm like, oh my God, these are all these different group of people, but they're all searching for this one goal. It might look different, but it's still a goal that they're trying to hit. And I
Right.
was in all
Right.
these fields. I was in
Wow.
every single one. So I could really, my trajectory through the fields was different because when I was going through school, I'm like, yeah, I'm a full academic scholarship. I got certain things I need to do, but I'm also on this
Mhm.
D1 track and field thing I got to do. And I'm also trying to build these businesses to do what I need to do. So I was in
Mhm.
all of these fields trying to expand my territory in all of my fields.
Right. And you would execute. And
I was,
sometimes that gives you that energy where you're going. And like myself, I had to stay busy.
mm-hmm,
Even in college, relationships were so important to me too. I went to
mm-hmm,
college twice. The first time was culinary
mm-hmm,
school. The second time I went back for film photography and all of these other good skill sets that I used to build my infrastructure.
mm-hmm,
But it was the second time where I really focused in on those relationships where I was like, okay, this person is good at this. This person's great at
mm-hmm,
that. And being that intentional, knowing where I
mm-hmm,
was headed in life. So
right.
for you to say that you had that awareness was, man, that's so important. So Okay, so here you are, you're starting your sauce, right? You made this promise to Aunt, and you're starting to develop the recipe. Walk me through that process of you like, okay, Aunt, I'm moving this forward.
Right. Yeah. So, like I said, I didn't know where to start at. I just knew I needed to get started. And I said, she didn't have a recipe together. It was
Hmm.
never written down. When I made this promise to her, I don't think she completely believed me either.
Right.
So I said, let me just get started. So at this time, I was staying in a dorm. My teammates had a car. They lived off campus. So I was asking them, I said, hey, can we just go to the local farmers market, try to get some veggies? Can we just try to do something, right? So I'm over here trying to pick out, and I had a gist of what was in it. Like I had an idea, and I ended up calling my fam like, "Hey, what do you think she put in it?" Because no one really watched her, but like everyone knew essentially what she put in it, just about, but not the correct measurement. So from this point
Hmm.
on, I'm like, okay, let me just try to do the best that I can. And for me at that time, I think like my biggest advantage was that I didn't wait. I wasn't a procrastinator, right? I just did stuff. And one of the disadvantages was I probably could have did a whole lot more planning than I probably could have. But I got to this point by just running as fast as I could, right? So from that point, I literally ran as fast as I could, to the point where as soon as I made the recipe, I started putting it in bottles. I said, okay, I'm gonna get this out to everyone on campus. At that time, I was in a living learning community, which means that I had money that I could use to do events for my dorm. My dorm had over 1,000 students in it, right? So with that being said, I had the ability to provide my sauce to 1,000 students, but I used that money, right, to jumpstart my business while giving a event to the university, right?
Hmm.
So everything worked out perfectly. So even though my bills was paid for, I still didn't have to use any of my own money, right?
Yeah.
I was still in a
Yeah.
position where I could capitalize on my opportunity that I had. So
Mm.
essentially, what I did was I asked my teammates for help, right? A lot of us don't like asking other people for help, but it is, I'm not going to say it's required, but it can take you a lot farther, right? It's better to go
Hmm.
together than going to alone, right? So
Hmm.
with that being said, I asked my teammates to help me do this event, where I said, we're going to do an event. We're going to give out shrimp and crab legs with the sauce. So everybody get one crab leg and two shrimps, right? So this is just going to be it. But I didn't put that on the poster, right? So I'm over here doing everything fast. I'm trying to get the word around campus. And I had all these people coming to my dorm. I had so many people flooding in. And the event could have been well orchestrated, but it was just put together on the fly. But I enjoyed it. I really did enjoy it. And everyone else enjoyed it, to the point where, I got out of class at 7 p.m. My event was at 7:30, right?
Right.
Didn't do
Right.
no prep. I had my teammates prep. I had them working so hard. So grateful for them to this day. I put people through a lot. And so it's better to plan. That's the biggest thing, if anything. Always try to plan ahead.
Yeah.
But this was the first time that other people other than my family was trying this sauce. And I was very scared, because I was like, man, I hope they like it. I even made
Yeah.
surveys. I made these surveys and I said, how much would you pay for this sauce? You don't need to ask nobody how much they would pay, but I had like $5, seven. I was just putting stuff on the paper just to get data. Because at this time, I just started learning about entrepreneurship. They're like, collect data, collect. I didn't know what that meant. I
Mm.
just started putting stuff on a piece of paper. But I got all these surveys. I had over 400 surveys of people actually filling this stuff out. Got content from the event, and that was the jump start. That was the jump start of my entrepreneurship journey, with the sauce, where I really was able to broadcast this on campus, utilizing the resources that I had to grow my business.
Wow. And so for those that are watching, we got to hear the word resourcefulness. You were very resourceful throughout this by using your team, using the people that were
Hmm.
around you, using the
Hmm.
opportunity with the gifting for the monies that was available. So
Hmm.
you were just aware. So that's a trait that I pray that a lot of high school and college students catch on to, that not to just ignore what's around you or who's around you, but tap
Hmm.
in.
Yes, exactly. And I think that was the biggest thing, because in college, like, I mean, anywhere that you're at, you don't have to go to college, but like, you need to use what's around you. Like, no matter what deck of cards, hand of cards you dealt, you need to play your best hand every single time. And I don't care if you got a three of diamonds. You need to go ahead and just use that three of diamonds. You need to be able to use that
Pair
card.
that
And
up.
exactly, you need to go ahead and tap into those resources and figure out what's going around you, because it's opportunities, but it's up for our
Yeah.
taking.
Yeah, and to even expand upon that. So let's go into your graduation and
Mm.
continue with your entrepreneurial journey. Because right, because you had academic, you had other skill sets as well as you building this business.
Correct, I did. And by the time graduation got closer and closer, I got nervous. I was like, man, what am I gonna do? Like, I've been working so hard for 4 years, but I still haven't built up a a business that could support me after college, right? I said,
Hmm.
I want to go pro for track and field. I want to have, this business that can support me financially. Do I want to get a job? I had all these things to the point where, while I was in college, I was blessed with an opportunity where I was making, $50 an hour, getting a six-figure job and getting internships, making all this money during the summer. And it was a blessing because, in my family, this wasn't a thing. And
Yeah.
I was like, I'm here, I got to this, I picked Virginia Tech for this was one of the reasons to get a good job. And when I
Hmm.
received that job and I was working in that job in corporate America, I soon found out that I don't care how much they pay me, I don't want to work here. And that's I had to find that out for myself. I had to get
Yeah.
confused because it wasn't so much about the money, right? The money was nice, but it wasn't for where I wanted to go. It wasn't feeling my purpose or my passion. So
Hmm.
I did 2 summers of that internship, and I had a job offer already lined up to work for this company. um, I did have the option. I was so during this time I was trying to excel my business. I was trying to do everything I could to get my business to a point where it could support. So I went out trying to get a co-pack. So I was doing, like I said, I was doing all the things to set me up after I graduated. So I wasn't waiting until after I graduated to make sure I was in position. I was doing
Hmm.
all of it while I was there. So while I'm in college, I'm getting a co-packer. A co-packer is someone who manufactures your product. I said, if I want to sell more, I need to make more, right? That was the common sense. I can't keep making this sauce, so let me figure out who can make this sauce. So I end up doing that. So I'm not okay. Now I got 3,000 units. It's the most sauce I've ever seen. Now I gotta sell it, right? This is what
Hmm.
you asked for. And I got all these cases in my house. I said, now I need to sell it. So I went door to door. I really did the groundwork. I mean, that flame, you know, I I could have thought a little bit smarter, but I said, I'm gonna use what I have. If I get me in
Hmm.
front of a store owner, I could probably sell this sauce to this person, right? So, like we said in the
Hmm.
beginning, using what you have. So I said, let me go ahead. It might not be the best route, but this is the route that I have because I already declined my job offer. But at this time, I still had so many different dreams. At this time, I still wanted to go professional for track and field, and I wanted to go to the Olympics and to build this business. So what I did was I moved to Florida. At this time, my dad is a coach. So, like I said, using what you have and your privileges, I said, "Hey, father, can you train me?" So I go down,
Hmm.
I start training down in Florida, not having a job, but still building my business and using the tools that I learned from college. So from this point, I never started selling in stores. But even to fast forward, while I was in college, I was doing so many things where I was doing festivals. I was selling food with the sauce. Like I was doing all that I could to promote this business. I was going to tailgates, right? Football tailgates. I'll get a table. I'll grill some chicken wings. I'll throw the sauce on them and sell $5 plates. So like I was doing all of these things, selling waters, like I was doing all these things to build a buzz for my product. And I also got the sauce in the dining hall for a 1 day event at Virginia Tech where they were able to put my sauce on their food. So that was a big event where I tried to get the press out there. So I was doing all these things that were quote unquote kind of unheard of on campus because I was like the first one to really be doing this. I was first one really selling food at this tailgate. And tailgate is nothing but like people just jumping around. Ain't nobody selling nothing. But I said, this is an
Hmm.
opportunity for me, right? Getting my own product in the dining hall where I eat at, where other students eat at. I knew this would be great press.
Even my graduation, they do a buffet, right, for all the people. I got my sauce with that buffet. So I'm doing all these things to try to promote my business to the best of my ability. So after that, I built a great buzz. I ended up leaving Virginia, moved to Florida, and what I do, I start going door to door. At that time, I had a Jeep. I loaded my Jeep up with all my sauce, and I was going door to door in Florida while running track and field, trying to pursue my dreams of going to Olympics. Um,
Wow.
so all these things are unfolding. I even had another job reach out to me in Florida, and I ended up declining that job offer as well because it didn't align with my current goals. On a
Mm,
certain day, I was supposed to do a certain task for my business, and I had a report to work. That's all I needed to know. So everything worked out. If it wasn't that certain day that I could do this for my business, then I would have got that job. But the fact that I need to do something on this day. So some of these things will show you signs as you're making headway through your journey. And all these signs we're making clear as day, but you have to be open to them, right? You got to be aware.
mhm,
You can't be, your head in the mud. You got to be cognizant. You need to be aware of what's going on and have that awareness, which I had because of my
mhm,
experiences. So, like I said, yeah, so I'm in Florida now. I'm building my business further. I'm trying to get more stores. So now at this point, I'm really like, okay, I just built up 22 stores in Virginia. Let me just repeat that same success in Florida, right? So while
mhm,
I'm selling hot sauce in 100-degree weather. I'm going door to door. I just worked out in the morning, and now I'm hitting these streets. So like when you talk about a hustle and a grind, I had it all right there. I had the roadmap. I
mm.
worked hard, and that was nothing new. I just need to hydrate, right? So I ended up
Right.
going all over Florida. I was in Miami. I was in Orlando. I just used what I could. I had a functioning car. I had plenty of sauce. It just needed to be sold, right? So that was like my trajectory right there. But all in the same breath, I was building another business at the same time while this stuff was
Mm,
going
mm. So,
on.
and like that crucial moment, because
Yeah.
we all have that crucial moment where you got to make this decision. Okay, am
Mhm.
I going to choose this job or am I going to choose my business? And am I willing to go all in?
Yep. Yep.
For
Yep.
myself, when I was in the hotel, right? And it was like, okay, well, am I going to choose my job or am I going to take this leap of faith? And you got to choose the opportunity because you don't know where this is going to lead you. You know where your job is going. It is where it's at. But
Yeah.
are you willing to take that leap of faith? So that is wonderful. Okay.
And
So,
like
mhm,
thank you for sharing that. And it might not be easy. The
mhm,
that in that decision, you might not get a result in the same day, the same month, or the same year. It's a scary
mhm,
thing, but you just don't know, but you don't need to know. You just need to be doing
mhm,
all that you can to make sure you're trying to get to the destination. You made that decision based upon where you want to be at in the future. And like we said before, the future is now, right?
right.
So if you want to be working on your business now, then maybe that job ain't what you need to be doing now, right? So it kind
Correct.
of makes sense, but it is a hard decision because I wasn't making plenty of money to sustain myself, but the Lord was sustaining me. I was able to make,
Hmm.
I was able to use what He gave me to get these stores and to essentially keep surviving. And at the end of the day, I was happy. I
Yeah.
was happy with my
Yeah.
situation because it was something that I chose.
Right. You made the decision. And then two, that's why it's important to start early and start young.
Yeah, it is.
Because when you get older and you get all those responsibilities, you may not have the same time, you may not have the resources or the energy to actually
Mhm.
do it. So you start early when you were probably at home or in college. So the way that you did it was perfect.
And that Chef Dom, that is a key right there to that testimony because I think I didn't shed light onto that as well. But you need to do it now. You need to do it young because, like you just said, I don't have a lot of responsibilities. I don't have any kids. Like when you get older, the older you get, the more responsibilities you have, right?
Hmm.
So you need to be doing all that you can now, honestly, because this is the best time. So it's no better time than now. You don't want to wait till the sun is shining, the cloud is right perfect in the left hand corner, the right corner. You want to go ahead and just do it now with what you have.
Before we even get into the growth of the business, right? Uh, so what kept you motivated?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I mean, honestly, from going from I had this burning flame to do more.
Mhm.
I want so much for myself and the people around me that it's relentless. And this relentlessness is like I owe it to myself, I owe it to the people that raised me, I owe it to my ancestors. Like it's bigger than us. Like it's bigger than just
Mhm.
you, right? Like the
Mhm.
moments where you feel as if, oh, I don't want to do this, I'm not going to make it. Know that it took centuries on decades and generations to get where you're at right now. And there's no
Mhm.
way you could give up. It's unfathomable that we could just stop right now, knowing that our ancestors, the people before us, like we wouldn't be here if it wasn't based upon the decisions that they made. And that is just a
Mhm.
scary truth because it's unnatural, supernatural to think about it like that. Because it's just so much bigger. The decision that we make just don't only affect us, but it affects the people around us, affects our future, our present, and our past.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
has a lot of weight, and it's so much weight that it can be heavy. You know, it can be
Yeah.
heavy at sometimes, but that knowing, that knowledge, right? If you know better, do better. And in that moment, I just try to do better. Not every day I feel 100%, or every day I feel as if that I want to give 110%. Some days I have my off days, and some days I feel like I can go 200%. And on those 200% days, I try to make up for the days that I couldn't go as hard as I wanted to. So
Mhm.
essentially, it's all the accumulation of things that I have experienced and just knowing the knowledge that I have now that keeps me moving forward.
Man, and I talk a lot with my mentees about the baton and knowing where you are within your generation, right? And your legacy. Because
Mhm.
it's important to know that if you're first generation or if you're third generation, if you're
Right.
fourth generation, because there are a group of people that are just starting out. Nothing was handed to you, nothing was given to you, nothing was built for you. And you have to build it. you know, and then you
Mhm.
have those that have had their grandfather who was a doctor,
Mhm.
set up their father who was in real estate, and now
Mhm.
you're reaping the fruits so that you can do more and it's not you don't have to work as hard. Either
Right.
or, it's okay, but you just got to know where you are within life,
I think, yeah, that is so wise, and I'm glad you're telling people that because you even taught me something in that moment. Like I realized where I was at in life. I realized that my mom cannot help me financially. I know like I knew that I have like you saying that I knew in this entire situation, I knew I had to do more than what I currently had. My
Mhm.
mom couldn't put me through school. I just can't. I don't have a house to go lay down. Like it, I have to do so much more to build this because it
Mhm.
starts now.
Mhm.
It's been started. You know, this stuff been happening. You know, it's just my turn to do more.
Mhm. Mhm. So at any moment in this journey, let's talk a little bit about the fears or the obstacles. What were some of the obstacles that you faced in your journey and as an entrepreneur or just in general?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, being a black man in America, um, and in most business, you're facing with people that might not be in your best interests, you know?
Mm.
So one of my fears, in particular with the sauce business, was going door to door and talking to these people, you know? And most of them don't look like me, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm a little black boy with locks.
So
And some
it added something on top of that, huh?
it added just a little bit, just a smidge, you know. I went from being what you selling me, you know, and I'm like, no, I have a real business. I have something that I promised my aunt. Like I have something with love and care. And some people don't care, you know. So you can't take everything so personal. In the beginning, I was taking things personal. I'm like, man, why could that person be so rude? Or how can they say
Yeah.
these things? Or you know, and it was heavy on the heart because I'm so much passionate about what I'm doing that a
Yeah.
no felt like he just stabbed me, you know.
Yeah.
Said something else that was a little racist and it hurt a little bit more, you know. So, you know, having that aspect right there was heavy and coming to realization of where I'm currently at, but where I'm currently at is
Yeah.
not my final destination. No matter what these people telling me, it doesn't mean that I'm not gonna make it. So,
Yeah.
having to face these different people with my dreams, because essentially I'm in the business of telling my dream to people. That's the only way I sell my sauce. I'm in the business of
Mm-hmm.
telling people my dream, and it's up to them to see if they're gonna believe in my dream and buy it. So
Mm-hmm. Get
I went
get comfortable.
exactly get comfortable. So I'm telling people what I want to do, you know, and some of it, like I'm receiving what, but I can't hold heavy on what they're saying to me. Some people have positive things, some people have negative things. But at the end of the day, I had to believe what I had. But all through my journey, God was preparing me to have this tough layer of skin to push further. Right, from people telling me, "Oh,
Mm,
your product is nothing. You're not going to make it anywhere. You need to do something more, or you're not going to make it on this
right.
shelf, or and having all those critics and naysayers while you're actively building a business. You ain't made it yet. So everything they
Yeah.
saying is it could be true, but I'm just gonna keep moving forward. So I had to be a little bit delusional in this journey. But
Mm-hmm.
the biggest fear was just what people would tell me and what I want to do for myself, and it
Right.
wasn't so much I want to prove them wrong, but this is what I want to do. And essentially, along the way, I am proving these people wrong, but that's not the big objective of this whole dynamic. But it was just really,
Mm-hmm.
what people would tell me, and the outliers. And this,
Mm-hmm. Well, and I talk about that when I talk a lot about delayed gratification, depending on where you are in your journey too, because you have to believe and you have to sow, sow, sow.
mm,
Reaping comes along. Sometimes that reaping is a long ways away. You may get a sprinkle. You may get something that pops up out the ground, but to actually build a business that can sustain yourself and grow and to sustain the team and more, it's going to
mm,
take time. So be okay with that and know where you are.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
I had to be comfortable being uncomfortable. I think that was
Mm-hmm.
the biggest thing about this journey. And even to this day, as I'm growing, new problems arise, but they're all good problems. I lie to you
Mm-hmm.
not, they're all good problems. And I had to go
Wow.
through a lot of hurdles to get to where I'm at, but I'm still grateful for where
Mm-hmm.
I'm at. And we're still growing, we're still building, we're
Yeah.
still, learning. And that's just where we're at right now.
So when it comes to the sauce, so here you are, you're selling the sauce, you're going door to door, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're building relationships, you're getting seen, right? You're getting airplay. But
Mm-hmm.
then also you had a bigger vision. You said, okay, well, I want my sauce to be in a specific location. So, talk a little bit about that. What was the vision and how did you make it happen?
Yeah, so like as I was going through, I was just doing so many things, and I was just like, I just want this sauce to be big. So I'm gonna just keep doing things until it gets big. And
Mm-hmm.
I finally got to a point where it was like a whim almost, but I was doing this
Mm,
commercial. I was cooking crab cakes on the news, and I said, you know what, it would be great if some people can buy the sauce at like a local food line. That would be
mm,
awesome. At this time, big grocery stores was not on my radar. But I said, you know what?
mm,
It would be nice if I got keep in mind the news station was the next day, and I'm like, okay, could we get a food line the day after that? So right
mm.
there was like, I'm thinking that it's easy. And
Right.
no, it is and it's not, right? It's a process, of course, right? So I went to my nearest food line, and I was going to different grocery stores saying like, how can I get into major grocery stores? They said go online, but you don't get seen no applications. It's just like I don't know. I'm like, who do I got to talk to get this product on the show? But nonetheless, I went in this grocery store. At this time, I had my mother with me as well. I went in the store and I end up pitching the sauce to one of the managers there. He's keeping the same energy that I always have, and I wasn't expecting him. I would expect him to say go to corporate, but I didn't care. I wanted to see what he would say to me, right? So no matter how many
Mhm,
times I did it, I just kept repeating it because that is that delusion that I'm talking about, right? I kept
mhm,
asking, making those requests until it came into manifestation. So, I made that request, and the next thing I know, he said, corporate called me and said that, hey, we got our product on our desk, and we want to see what we can do with you. So boom, right there, I got my first introduction to Food Lion. It took me a year from that current date to get on that shelf in Food Lion, but that's what happened, right? It
Wow.
took me from saying, "Hey, I just want to get into one of these local Food Lions, just one of them to sell the product. It'll be nice, for people just to go in this Food Lion and pick it up after they see it on the station, right?" And
Right.
next thing I know, I ended up getting 70 locations for Food Lion. And with those 70, I launched in April. So now I'm in this position. I'm like, okay, now how can I sell more out this Food Lion? Right. So now I have scaled in this position, but I mean, it just was crazy that trajectory where it went from something being so small to the point where I was just wanting one that I got 70.
Because you never gave up.
Correct.
You kept drilling. No, 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 no. That
Right.
one yes.
Boom. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that one yes on the floodgates, but even when you get that one yes, it's still done. That I
Right.
had to find out it's still it requires more of me still, because we be
Yeah.
like, let me just get this one yes and I'll be okay. Like, no, 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 no. You just don't want the one. You want to get as much as you can.
Yeah.
But I essentially opened those floodgates opened up because of that never giving up spirit. And
Mm-hmm.
now we're just gonna go to the next door.
Mm-hmm. And you built
Yeah.
up those skill sets, right? The skill, like you said at the beginning, you already knew what you had in your hands, your ability to communicate with people and resonate with empathy. You see how that connected with now you're going into these stores, you're comfortable with communicating after knocking on those doors. You see, I
Yeah.
just want those that are watching to understand the journey, right? Because
Mhm.
you're still young, you're 24.
Mhm.
So
Right.
you're just getting started. The next 10 years is going to be amazing. The next 20 years is going to be amazing, prayerfully, that it continues to grow. So, what do you see? What is the vision for the Aunt Carol sauce?
Right. Absolutely. Like so now that the dream was to get on the show. That was the first
Mm,
dream ever was to get on the show. Then we grew on to getting on, corporate shows. Okay. Now that we did that, it's like, okay, what is next? And we want to have an impact. We just don't want to be another sauce on the shelf.
mhm,
Right. We're competing with corporations that essentially control a lot of things that we do. And I'm competing with big brand
mhm,
names, but going back from me competing in track, we don't care. I don't care what these people are doing. I'm just worried about what I'm doing on my little shelf, on my little section of my shelf. So with that being said, I want to be able to grow this brand to be an international brand. So from my travels, from being outside the country, traveling the world for about 4 months, and seeing that, hey, where we come from can be so much more. What happened in the comfort of my aunt's home and making this sauce for the family that she loved has now been able to be. We sold 30,000 bottles. We done sold so many units to the point where we're in so many different states, but we can go even further. So
yeah.
this business take a step higher than what it is because you never know that if Uncro sauce is on a shelf in Japan or Thailand, and you travel for the first time in the world and you go there like, oh, I know Uncro sauce. I live in Virginia. Oh, I live in Florida. I know this person. It's possible.
Mhm,
It's
mhm,
so much bigger than what it is, or that person working in Norfolk, right? And that person that is in the military, and then he gets stationed from Norfolk to Japan, and he go in the grocery
mhm,
store. See Uncle, it's just you just don't know what the effects a product what you do can have on a person, right? And I don't want to
mhm.
put any caps on what God has for my business right now. So with that being said,
Mm.
the sky is the limit. But to get this in the manyest hands, as many to put my sauce in as many hands as possible in this world, right? And to be a
Yeah,
light for other people, to knowing that is possible.
yeah. I talked to a friend of mine, Ali, and he
Mm,
says the sky is your refueling station. Because when you get to the sky,
mm.
you get some fuel, you gas back up, and you keep going.
Yeah, you're
you
right.
know,
That's
you know.
beautiful. That's right. Yeah, you think you just fall, but no, you can just keep going higher.
Nah,
Yeah,
you refuel.
you
You
refuel. I
refuel.
love that.
So, when we first met, it always stuck with me, not only your energy, but your
Mhm.
entire journey. And I think that's what resonates with most people. because it takes that connection too. When you walk into a store, you're like, no. And especially when you taste it, you're like, okay, this is it. You know what I'm saying? And your palate, and you begin to change up the thinking. No,
Mhm.
this is what I want in my house. So we as a community, we definitely need to be more intentional about one, supporting. I think don't just ignore that friend or that family member that has taken the leap of faith to put everything that they have into this vision that God has placed inside of them. Support.
Mhm.
Even if you don't need it at the moment, support.
No, that I mean, I couldn't say it any better. Like people, you don't understand that everyone has power, and every time you buy from something, you're voting for this person to stay in the business. You're supporting this person's dreams, and when you don't, you're essentially not rooting for them. You know, so like it goes a long way. It's more than just you buying a bottle of sauce. It's more than you
Yeah,
just booking it's so much more than what that is.
yeah, yeah. When you make that purchase, it's life changing because for a young entrepreneur, for an entrepreneur in general, because
Correct.
that's their bottom line. That's their livelihood. So,
That is
I want to make sure that everyone knows. I wanted everyone to know you, but also support. Don't just
right.
watch this episode, y'all. Click on the link, right? Go to Aunt Carol's Sauce
Yeah.
and buy him out. Let's clear out his inventory, and let's make sure that when you do taste the sauce, that you share your reviews. Let's get more engaging. Let's support. Is there any last words that you want to leave with our audience today?
I mean, the biggest one is just to never give up because what you see right now, right? People say seeing is believing, but it's not always seeing is believing, right? Sometimes you need to
Mhm.
believe it before you see it. So as you're going through this journey, it's okay if you can't see it with your own eyes in this physical realm, right? But please just have the faith and stick to it, stick through it. And it might take some time, but it will come to pass. And I just don't want anyone just giving up just because they get that first no, right? Or even if they get
Mhm.
that first yes and just stopping there. But whatever you want, go ahead and chase it and go for it because it is yours to obtain it.
Wow. Wow. Y'all heard it right there. I can't even put nothing on top of that. But for everyone that is watching, so this was an amazing interview. Tahjere, I greatly appreciate having you on. For everyone who knows, I have the Success Club for high school and college students to create their personal success plans. If you have a young man or woman that you want to introduce into the Success Club, just go to McNultyInternational.com, reach out to myself. We have a lot of materials to help them with books and more to create their personal success plans. Because just like
Mhm,
you, when you go into a bank or anything, you need a
mhm,
business plan. But in life, we all need our personal success plan so we can map out where we are and where we're going.
mhm.
So reach out to myself, diamondmcnulty.com. You can go to shopmcnulty.com. Tajir, how can they reach out to you?
Yes, please. You can follow me on Instagram at Uncrow Sauce on all platforms: Facebook, TikTok, Twitter. Also, you can email us at support@uncrowsauce.com or go into our website at uncrowsauce.com as well. We're always happy to support, show love, and give whatever resources or support that you need as well, because we're all in this together.
Hmm. And let's take over the world. So, everyone, I want to thank y'all for watching and tuning in. And we'll see y'all next time inside the boardroom. We all programmed to prosper. Take care.